nicotine addiction is the single most important reason why people continue to smoke. But typically, most people who become addicted to tobacco will become addicted before they reach the age of 18. We know that 90% of people who are addicted to tobacco will become addicted either during childhood or adolescence, not during adulthood. So this is a pediatric disease that gets carried over into adulthood. And the explanation for that is we know that about 90% of human beings will try tobacco at least once. And about a third of those individuals who try it will become addicted for a number of reasons. And it's nicotine in tobacco that maintains the addictive nature of tobacco. If nicotine was taken out of cigarettes, cigarettes would no longer be addictive, and most people do not continue to maintain the actual habit of administering tobacco smoke if there's no nicotine left in it. So the nicotine itself leads to a number of neurophysiological changes, and when those changes occur, that is when the individual is no longer capable of simply putting tobacco down without facing consequences. So most smokers don't wake up every morning thinking, wow, today I want to be a smoker, I want to smell of tobacco smoke, I want to be ostracized, I want to be told by my kids again and again that I should quit, I want to spend $10 or $20 on tobacco today, I choose to be a glamorous smoker. That choice is long lost. The only choice left really is whether you accept treatment or not. And for the most part, when people do enter treatment, the success rates are similar to that for other chronic diseases. And that's an important point we need to carry across to individuals, is continue trying and stay in treatment, even if initially it doesn't quite deliver the results. There's a number of neurophysiological deficits in the brains of schizophrenia patients which may make them more vulnerable to becoming addicted to tobacco and other chemical compounds for that matter. We know there's a number of conditions that get normalized in the brain because of tobacco smoking, specifically nicotine. In schizophrenia patients, we know that their blinking rates are higher than the general population. So persons with schizophrenia blink their eyes more times a minute than the general population, and nicotine from tobacco tends to normalize those blinking rates. People with mental illness tend to be more addicted to nicotine than their corresponding non-mentally ill cohorts in the population. We know that persons with mental illness tend to require higher doses of nicotine replacement, and they may require it for longer periods of time. Also because about half of people who are addicted to tobacco have a history of depression. We need to exclude that. And the reason for that is if we don't screen for, optimally treat depression in people who are addicted to tobacco, the risk of relapse to smoking is actually six-fold compared to those who don't have a history of depression. So it's vitally important that we do screen for depression and that we make sure that people who quit smoking do not have an untreated mood disorder. So the mood disorders are relatively easily treatable. We have medication plus counseling available for that. Treatment for tobacco addiction works across a broad range of populations, including persons with mental illness. When people are addicted to tobacco, they inhale those 4,000 chemicals on a regular basis. And one of the subchemicals or subcompounds in tobacco smoke is what is called the beta-carbolines. And the beta-carbolines act in the same fashion as what some of the commercially available antidepressants may act. Now, these are not compounds that were added by the tobacco industry. These are naturally occurring compounds in tobacco plants, which are then translated into compounds inhaled when a person smokes. And when a person quits cold turkey, the individual may no longer be accessing these medications which mimic the effect of the antidepressants. And that may explain why a lot of people who smoke have a history of depression, and why people who quit smoking and they've had a history of depression may be prone to relapsing to depression. And that's why it's important for us to integrate into the work we do a screening mechanism for depression. And it could be done as simple as asking two questions: depression and lack of interest. And those we've captured in what is called a safety sensitive algorithm. People who quit smoking can develop depression, can become suicidal for three main reasons. The one is nicotine abstinence can mimic suicidality and depression and irritability. Secondly, we've mentioned the monoamine oxidase inhibition in tobacco smoke. That's the antidepressant effect that may no longer be present when a person is not smoking anymore. So that's a second mechanism. The third one is caffeine is also impacted by smoking and quitting smoking. The same chemicals in tobacco smoke that induce those liver enzymes will also impact caffeine. Caffeine and its breakdown is actually induced, it's accelerated by smoking. So that means smokers can drink much more coffee than non-smokers. When they no longer inhale tobacco smoke, they no longer have that compound that stimulates the liver to break caffeine down fast, and they may become caffeine toxic unless they've cut down on caffeine consumption. Caffeine intoxication can mimic nicotine detoxification, can mimic a range of mood and anxiety problems. So in an individual with a pre-existing psychiatric history of depression, suicidality, psychosis, who may already be vulnerable, this may well push that individual over the edge. But none of the medications used for smoking cessation are proven to be causally linked with depression or suicide. Quitting smoking, though, has profound neuropsychiatric consequences, and it's still our responsibility to compensate for that.